Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritual Events Directory Indie Author Series. And today I'm speaking to the lovely Kellie Harriden about her book, Long Awaited Child. Welcome, Kellie. How are you going?
Hi, Pip. Thank you for having me.
We are so nice to have you here, and we're having fun and games with our technology today, so making sure that everything's schmick. So we are going to have a bit of a chat today about your publishing journey and how you actually came to write Long Awaited Child. And this process, obviously, it's huge. It's a huge process, and I have been through it myself, so I know how intense it can be. So not only are you writing about your own personal experiences, and that's emotional in itself, then you've got the added, bonus of sharing that with the world. So why did you decide to write a book? I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah, it is a bit crazy and something that I never thought I'd do, to be honest.
Mm.
And I'm sure my English teacher would probably agree. um, so, yeah, I decided to write my book because my story is Long Awaited Child is about the 8-year journey that it took my partner, E, and I to have a family. When we were going through that time, I knew no one who had sort of been through what we were dealing with infertility and going through IVF and all the steps that we took to have a family. So I felt very alone because I felt like I had no one to talk to. And so we did go on to have a family.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. So we did go on to have a family, and as soon as sort of after that process, I just felt like it was sort of something I was very passionate about sharing my story, just to give others that read my story hope,
Yeah.
That things can happen and miracles do happen.
Yeah.
And also to know that just that knowing other people are out there and understand what you're going through is comforting as well.
Yeah, look, that's beautiful, because one of the things that you've said to me before when we were talking about the book is that it was something so what we considered natural. That whole process of a woman getting pregnant is something that is culturally and, sort of worldwide. People think, well, that's what women do. We get pregnant, so we have that ability to do that. And so for you to not have that happen naturally and easily, what was that like for you to have that happening and or not happening, as the case may be?
Yeah, it was a real shock when we decided that we would start trying for a family. I was naive, thinking, oh, it's going to be a few months. And I say in my book, it was coming up to Christmas. Oh, we're going to be making some big announcement at, our family Christmas. And so it really came as a shock to me because, my sisters, my mum, everyone had no trouble falling pregnant. And I didn't actually know anyone. I heard of people, but I didn't actually physically know anyone that had been through, and had to deal with infertility themselves. So it was a big shock. But, I now look back through everything that we have been through. And, I really believe that it was a path that was destined for me. And that is now I'm very passionate about doing something with my story and helping others.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I love that that is your intention, that you coming from that place of giving people hope, because that was something that you felt like you needed. And that sort of story of, resilience and having that feeling of knowing that things are going to work out for you in perhaps an even better way than what you had possibly imagined.
Yeah, so true. Like, at the end, it was an 8-year journey, but Ian and I now have the most gorgeous twins, boy and girl twins, Bane and Daya. So I now look back and feel very, very blessed. It still is an emotional thing for me. Writing the book was definitely an emotional journey, reliving that. And sometimes when I've had opportunities to record podcasts and things, I still get quite emotional over our story. And it's something that will be with me forever. It's not like that's all done and dusted. It'll be with me for the rest of my life.
Sure. I mean, it's still a story that's going on, isn't it? Your children are going to grow up and ask questions, and you now have a beautiful legacy a story, a book that you can actually give them to read and understand where they came from in a whole beautiful way. Like it's a very unique where did I come from? Remember the where did I come from book?
Yes.
This is going to be a whole new way
A
of
whole different thing.
describing where they came from. So this is amazing. So you started, let's begin at the beginning, I guess,
Yeah,
for people.
sure.
So you started out with the process of going through IVF when you realised that you weren't able to conceive naturally. And so that meant that you and Ian could, you were going through that process of doing that and that took a good portion of time. Obviously, that was, you know, of the 8 years, that was quite a significant amount of time that you did that bit, correct?
That's correct, yeah. We went through 6 cycles all up. Now, when I say 6 cycles, that was actually from the very beginning. So each time they did an egg retrieval, our fertility specialists did an egg retrieval, they weren't able to collect a large number of eggs. So when then we'd go on to them go to the embryo stage and being transferred, we were only left with 1 or 2. So if they didn't take in implantation, then we would have to start from the very beginning with another whole lot of injections and everything that's involved with IVF, and they would increase our injections. So it was very hard for us because a lot of people, when they do IVF, they'll have a lot of embryos. Some can be frozen.
Right.
So if that one doesn't implant in an IVF process of transfer, they can then just go back to that stage and have them taken out of the freezer and do another transfer. I hope that all makes sense.
Yes, it
And
does.
yeah, so but for us it wasn't that way. So we had to start from the very beginning each time. So the 6 cycles did take up a large portion. You know, we had times during those 8 years where we would have a little break. And, you know, even after we decided to have a break from IVF for a while, we even looked into things like foster care and adoption within Queensland.
Yep. Yeah, and because, I mean, you get tired. Like, it's, I mean, what you have to monitor, you know, all of the different things that are going on in your body. It must have been exhausting.
It was exhausting, and also the fact that I was very private about what we were going through was just something that I felt I needed to do for myself. And also because I was embarrassed. Like, I look back now and think that is a waste of an emotion. However, I think not knowing anyone that had been through it and everyone else's body's doing what they were meant to do and mine wasn't, I was ashamed. So I kept it very, very close to my chest. And so only certain friends and some family actually knew about what we were going through.
Yeah. So what did you do to sort of work on those feelings of shame and, you know, like you were saying, it was a wasted emotion. Did you do any work during that time in terms of personal development or healing? Did you go and, I think you mentioned that you've had Reiki and energy healing before. Was that part of that process of being, you know, being more kind to yourself during that process?
At the time, no, I didn't. I've actually, because I was a lot younger, and I didn't really know. Like, I did go to acupuncture, but I just went because someone said, oh, apparently acupuncture helps. So I didn't know all the, you know, when was the right time to go. And, you know, as the years go on, more information comes out about, you know, when's a good time to do acupuncture, when's a good time to do these things. I sort of just got on with it. I was working, had a great career. So I was working at the time and just, I don't know, I just made myself get through it and didn't give myself any of those opportunities to work on personal development or anything. And I've actually had to do that more now as a healing process for myself.
Yeah, because I found that same thing when I started writing my book, that I'd done personal development in the past, but this really brought up a lot of emotions and the process of actually writing everything down and then wondering what people would think when I wrote those things, and then how did I feel about, like, you know, things that I'd done in the past. And, you know, it's, and particularly with what you were saying, you know, you were a very private person and here you are writing a book that's then going to go out into the world and be shared with lots of people who do know you and people who don't know you as well. So I can understand that that would be intense for you.
Yeah, definitely. And also because our story, as you know, Pip, that our story doesn't stop with IVF. We then go on to, we looked into foster care and adoption, and they weren't the right options for us at the time. We ended
Yeah.
up going on to surrogacy.
Yes.
And also having to use a donor egg as well. So with all those things, comes they're big decisions to make.
Yeah.
Knowing that, your children are not going to be biologically yours and that you're not going to carry them. These options when you're a little girl and think about growing up and having a family, they are not things that you even,
Yeah.
would cross your mind at all. So, I had to make those decisions on how much we wanted a family, and that was what we had to do. So I didn't
Yeah.
have a lot of time to make those decisions because we were starting to go through the process. So it was probably a good thing in that way that I
Yeah.
made the decisions and just got on with it, which I
Didn't
tended to do.
overthink it.
Yeah, that's right, which I tend to do as well. So, yeah, we, just got on with it and went down the path of surrogacy. So these are all things that I was like, oh, people are going to question me on, are they yours? And, these were all things that we had after our babies were born. So, I had people say to me, are they yours? Like, it's just, imagine someone going through everything over 8 years to have a family and then a friend turn around and say, so are they yours?
Yeah. I mean, so how do you answer that question now? What's the answer to that question? I mean, obviously they're yours, but like, how do you actually answer people now?
Thankfully, I don't get that question as much, probably because I've been so open about my story. But before then, when our twins were very newborn, it was something that it would stab me in the heart. It was really hurtful, because if you'd known someone had adopted a child, you wouldn't ask them.
Right.
So I just go, of course they're ours. So and I never gave anything else away at the time because it was all still very private. It's not until a few years in that I said, you know what, I need to share my story. I need to do this for other people, and also as a healing process for myself.
Right.
As you would know, it can writing your own personal story can be a real healing process, and
Yep.
I never thought that at the time, but now I look back and go, wow, that was, just putting out there, but also the healing process of going, okay, this is my story. If you want to ask me those questions, if you want to know the truth, here it is.
Yep.
I haven't hidden anything in that book.
Right. That's great. And I think that's the thing too, isn't it? That you felt like you needed to communicate, that there were people out there who might have gone through the same thing as you or similar journey to you, and there was no outlet for them and there was no outlet for you. And this was something that you just felt compelled to do, that you just felt like, oh, I really have to do this because there are people who need support like you did. And this is going to be amazing for them to be able to feel like it's safe. It's safe to speak about these things.
Yes, and I think the whole stigma around infertility is becoming less and less. More people, like some celebrities out there sharing their story,
Sure.
where, that didn't happen in the past. It's quite, you see
Yeah.
a lot of celebrities, will go out and say that they went through IVF or they've used a surrogate, things like that. So it is really good. It's, less stigma around it and helping those people, I think, that are going through similar struggles at the moment, just give them that bit of hope that it can all work. And also with my story, another thing I really wanted to put out to people is because if we'd given up after IVF
Right.
had, say, failed us, like I say, if IVF fails you, where do you go from there? And a lot
Right.
of people go, everything else is just too hard. And it's
Yep.
actually not. So by sharing my story of going down the egg donor and the surrogacy path, it really lets people know that, maybe that could be something that if they have to,
Yeah.
they can do it as well instead of going, okay, it didn't work and we're not going to have a family.
Fantastic. And the other thing is that little bit of the story, I mean, there's so much to your story, it's
Yeah.
amazing. But that bit of the story also has another little twist to it, and that is that the surrogate was not in Australia. You were inspired by a story on 60 Minutes. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Years before we even thought that we would have to go down the surrogacy path, Ian and I saw a story on 60 Minutes in Australia of two guys that had gone overseas to have a surrogate carry their baby. So
Yeah.
It was something that, I don't know, it was just always stuck in the back of our mind. So when we got to that point of going, this is what we may have to do, we sort of always had that story there and went, they can do it, why can't we? So then we started researching and getting onto it. So we did, do international surrogacy.
Yeah, which is so cool. I mean, what an amazing thing. And you went through an agency in India to
That's
do that.
correct, yes, yes.
Cool.
Yep, and it was all very well done. Like, I even look back at that time and go, God, that was actually easier than all the IVF, trying to get out of work for, IVF, anyone that's gone through it or going through it, all the times you've got to get out for your specialist appointment, blood tests, scans. I felt like I was, getting a blood test or a scan every second day as it came up to the egg retrieval time. So, once we decided to go down that surrogacy path and we went to India, went through all the processes in India. It was all done very officially. We had lawyers within the clinic. So there was all documents signed. So there was no way that surrogate could keep our babies.
Sure.
Ian is the biological parent
Yep.
of them. So, all the steps were really put in place and really, there for us to follow, and it just felt so much easier. We went over to India and the processes were done. We then came back to Australia, got on with our life, and thankfully we were very lucky that our surrogate fell pregnant the first time.
Wow, that's amazing. And it must have been a surprise. I can imagine that you would have been delighted that you actually had just got pregnant at all. Like, that's exciting to have that happen. But to know that it was twins, that must have been even more amazing to have two babies coming.
Yeah, that was a really, we just look back and go, we were so lucky. And to have a boy and a girl, we didn't actually know at all right up until they were born. It is against the law to find out the sex of the babies.
Okay.
So over there, it was at the time anyway. So we didn't know. We just knew there was two. So it could have been two boys, two girls, or one of each. And, after everything we went through, it was our turn to hit the jackpot, and we did.
How do you prepare for that? When I always think of that episode of Friends where Monica and Chandler don't know that they're having, two babies. They're like expecting one, and then there's like in the birthing suite, there's like two babies, and it's like, what? So how did you prepare? How did you mentally prepare for two babies coming?
It was a big thing to even prepare because mentally at all for one baby, let alone two, because we, if you're pregnant, you've got this growing baby bump, and I had none of that. And because they were in another country, we didn't see our surrogate. We got emails from the clinic quite often. They were wonderful to deal with, to let us know that she was doing well. And I was always, I'd send over little gifts for her and everything. And very small things in comparison to what she was doing for us. But yeah, so, here we were one day, and then we had a lady in another country carrying our baby. So that was really surreal. And then when it got to the time of, we were given a date to be back in India for the delivery, we actually got a call one night saying that our babies had been born. So they were 7 weeks preemie. So that was a big shock. Here I was one day working, and then, that night I was a mother.
That's incredible. So I guess you prepared their room and got everything ready, and at least you knew there was two. That wasn't too much of a surprise. But so what was it like when you actually went over there and there they were, like you actually got to meet them for the first time?
Oh, that was just beautiful. So we had a bit of paperwork to do in Australia before we could leave to fly over there. So we had that done. So by the time we got to New Delhi and to see them, they were 9 days old, I think it was.
Wow.
10 days. Yeah. So it was, it was really, hard because, you just want to be with them straight away. And we turned up at the hospital the following morning after we'd flown in, and, we could see these two little babies in a crib together in the nursery, and we were like, oh, I wonder if, that's our babies. And, just standing there getting gowned up, and sure enough, we went in and we were taken over. And, that was a really beautiful moment just to be passed the babies to us. It was just beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen the photographs of the two of you holding the two babies. They're now obviously not babies anymore.
No.
So how old are they now?
They've just turned 7 a couple of months ago. So, yeah, it's flown by
Yeah.
really, really quickly. But I didn't sort of feel comfortable sharing my story, and I started writing when they were 5 because I still had that bit of shame and, where something inside me just wasn't able to just let it all out, and then just something, and even though I wanted to, there was something holding me back. And then one day I just went, you know what, I need to do this. And I just sat down and my mentor said to me, just write from the heart. And that's exactly what I did with my book. Yeah, it was the best advice I was given.
That's so good. And I guess also, we're talking about, the last time we spoke, we were talking about how they're going to start to ask questions about where they come from. And so that probably got you thinking as well about, well, maybe I need to write this down so that it's clear for me and I can actually then speak those words to those kids as they start to ask those questions. Was that part of it as well?
Yeah, 100%. Like it was, I now have this book. I better show you the cover. Yep, so that's the book Long Awaited Child. So yeah, it's something that, I've kept a copy and written a little message in a book for them each. And for now, they are only 7. They don't really know how everything works, and the birds and the bees as such. So we sort of tell them little bits of information as we feel they need to know. They are fully aware that they were born in India, which they feel is quite exciting because that's something that, they don't really know many people, and they know that they weren't in my tummy. So they'll know that they were in our surrogate Manu's tummy. That's all at this stage that we've passed on to them. But, it's just little bits. And I think when it comes to knowing their personalities, they're going to be okay.
Yeah, and I think that's good because you're going to give them, you'll drip feed them the information as they're ready to take it on. Children are so resilient, and they take on what they're ready to take on, and then they just ignore the rest until they're ready to take on the next bit. So it's so wonderful. What a beautiful legacy this is, for them, and you're quite passionate, obviously, about encouraging people to talk about the whole process of fertility and infertility and everything that comes with that, with having babies. And you've created a fertility expo that you've done one already up on the Sunshine Coast. And when are you planning on doing another one? I presume that it went well last time.
Yeah, last year we had one on the Sunshine Coast, and I also held a smaller event in Noosa, where, I don't claim to ever be an expert when it comes to all things fertility. So what I did with the expo was that I just gathered then all the experts, the fertility specialists, anyone that was in that fertility field, had them in the space. And so that's sort of how I am doing it. And it worked really well. I was planning on doing it again bigger and better for this year, but as we all know, 2020 has not gone to plan for anyone. So that's now been postponed to next year. So it'll definitely be happening. It's just when is just the question at the moment. And I also want to take that expo to other locations. So I live on the Sunshine Coast, so it was where I've held it the first time, and looking at other locations around Australia once, and definitely in Queensland once we can.
Fantastic. That's great. So the Fertility Expo is something to look out for. And obviously, if people want to get more information about that, they can contact you at kellieharridenauthor.com. Is that right?
No, just kellieharriden.com.
Sorry, kellieharriden.com. And that all the information is there about the book and also about the expos. And you also have something called the Pineapple Tribe. Do you want to tell everyone about that?
Yes, my Pineapple Tribe is a fertility gift shop. So if you yourself or someone you know is going through IVF treatments, or I've got a little shop there of little gifts that you can actually buy, ranges from cards to socks. Socks are actually a big thing because when people are going in for their transfers, they all like to have what we know as the pineapple socks. The pineapple is actually like a little symbol of hope and luck and friendship within the fertility field. So everyone that's going through it, pineapple is a big thing for us. So I've got lots of little pineapple pieces on there. So yeah, that's all available on the website as well.
Excellent. So everything has like pineapple kind of theme to it.
Most things, yes. Most things have the pineapple theme to it. So that's why I named the shop the Pineapple Tribe.
Perfect. That's
Yeah,
great. I was thinking also that it would be great as a Facebook, the name of a Facebook group as well, like the Pineapple Tribe
the
would be great
tribe
to bring everybody into the tribe,
do it together.
if you're in it. But yeah, look, that's so fantastic. And I love what you're doing, and I love that you are putting yourself out there in this way, because there's so many things that we need to be talking about more openly, and fertility is one of them. And I was talking to another Kellie actually yesterday, who was talking about grieving and grieving the loss of a child, and her book is all about that. And so she was talking about that needs to be more openly talked about too. So, it's so important that we hold each other and be
Yeah,
kind to each other and be compassionate to what's happening. And what you're doing is giving not only the people who are going through this process something to read and feel more hopeful and more inspired, but also people who are supporting them, friends,
mm,
family, people who have never been through this can read your story and understand what it's like to
yeah,
go through this process, because you have been so honest and, really put your
hmm
heart out there. So,
yeah, I really have. Yeah, and
yeah.
so I was just going to mention in the book as well, because one part of my book that I'm really I do love, and I get a lot of beautiful comments and feedback from it, is that in the afterword, it was actually written by my mum. So
Right.
it's my mum's story watching me go through that, and it's really beautiful, and it's really just honest and beautifully written. Watching her daughter go through that, and knowing that there was nothing she could do but sort of be there to support her, and the relationship she now has with her grandchildren, it's really beautiful.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love
Mm,
that. And yeah, I think that's so excellent. So you could, as a grandparent, you could buy it for yourself to understand the journey that your child's going through, or as a sister or
a
a
friend.
friend. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And I really want to honor you for being so brave to put your story out there, because I know how hard it was for me to tell the truth, my truth, and to put it out there. And I think it's so important that we share our truth for not just our families, but for ourselves, to actually really
Mm,
honour and be authentically us. It's a
yeah,
huge thing. So
yeah.
congratulations, it's amazing.
Thank you, Kip. I really appreciate you saying that, and saying back at you because yeah, it's as we both know, to put it all down there and then put it out to the world is a massive thing. But you're probably like me. I look back and I'm just so proud of what I've achieved
Yeah.
with my book and everything around it. I'm really proud of it, and I sort of know that this is my destiny that I was meant to be on,
Yep.
and the path that I was given to do something with it.
Yeah. Imagine
Mm.
if you had not, as you said, if you'd stopped after the IVF, you wouldn't have those beautiful children. You wouldn't have this beautiful book. You wouldn't be doing the fertility
Hmm.
expos. Like, so many things
Yeah,
might not have happened and look at what's happened, what's unfolded because of this journey. So how amazing is that? The universe has
yeah.
brought you this incredible journey. So, and who knows? Who knows what's next?
Yeah, well, next
International
is another book, but yeah, yeah,
Another book, yes.
yeah, another book. Hopefully next year. So a follow-on book that we're working on at the moment.
Yeah, exciting.
Mm.
So cool. I love it. So thank you so much. Our time has come to an end for today, but I really appreciate you coming and joining the Indie Author interview series. And
Thank you.
if anyone wants to get in touch with you, kellieharriden.com is your website, and obviously I'll put the links underneath the video as well, so people can follow you on Facebook and maybe get something pineapple-y.
Thanks, Pip. Yeah, and I always say to people, if you have any questions, please reach out to me.
Great.
There's a spot there on the website or even on Facebook where you can just message me because, I just want to help people through their journey and just give them that bit of hope. So please feel free to do that.
That's lovely.
Mm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for today, and we'll see you again very soon, I'm sure. And this was Pip Coleman. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Pip.
Bye.
Bye.